On August 13th, 2018, Shanann Watts returned home from a business trip. It was just after 2 in the morning. Her husband Chris and their 2 daughters, 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste, were asleep inside their quiet suburban home in Frederick, Colorado. From the outside, it looked like the perfect American family. Chris worked for an oil company. Shanann was thriving in her health and wellness business. They had a 2-story home in a safe neighborhood, 2 beautiful daughters, and a baby boy on the way. His name would have been Nico, but within hours, Shanann and the children would vanish. By mid-morning, her friends grew worried. Calls and texts went unanswered. Her purse, phone, and car were still at the house. Nothing made sense. Police were called for a welfare check. Chris opened the door, calm and cooperative, but strangely detached. That same day, he appeared on local TV pleading for their safe return. He stood on his driveway and told the cameras, "If you're out there, come back. This house isn't the same without you." He looked calm, almost too calm. What no one knew then was that Chris Watts was hiding a terrible secret. A crime that would shock the nation and reveal the horrifying truth about the darkness that can lurk beneath the most ordinary appearances. Chris and Shanann had met in 2010. She was charismatic, energetic, and ambitious. She called Chris her rock, the man who stood by her when she struggled with health issues and gave her the life she'd always wanted. Their friends saw them as a devoted couple. Shanann was a proud mother, always sharing milestones and family moments on Facebook, birthday parties, vacations, little videos of the girls singing and playing. Chris was quiet, reserved, often in the background, smiling softly beside her. On social media, they looked perfect. But behind the images, life wasn't as flawless. The Watts family had money problems. In 2015, they filed for bankruptcy. They were tens of thousands of dollars in debt. Medical bills, student loans, and the costs of raising a family weighed heavily on them. Shanann was constantly trying to keep up the image of success through her online business, but the pressure was immense. And by 2018, Chris had grown distant. While Shanann was outspoken, expressive, and always sharing their lives online, Chris withdrew further. He started changing physically, losing weight, working out, paying more attention to his appearance. And then he began an affair. Her name was Nicole Kessinger, a co-worker at the oil company. Nicole believed Chris was separated, even in the process of divorce. She had no idea Shanann was pregnant. Chris told her he was at the end of his marriage. In reality, his wife was carrying their 3rd child. The affair gave Chris a taste of freedom, of excitement. He wanted a new life, but instead of ending his marriage through divorce, Chris began resenting his family. Divorce would be complicated. It would cost money. His perfect image would shatter. And in his twisted mind, there was only one solution. On the morning of August 13th, after Shanann came home from her trip, Chris made his move. At some point before dawn, he strangled Shanann in their bedroom. She was 15 weeks pregnant with their son. As he was dragging her body to his truck, Bella and Celeste woke up. They were alive. Chris placed Shanann's body in the back of his work truck. He then put the 2 little girls in the back seat, still alive, still awake, and drove them 40 miles to a remote oil site where he worked. The drive was quiet, terrifying. The girls likely knew something was wrong. They saw their mother, lifeless, at their father's feet. At the site, Chris carried out the unthinkable. First, he smothered Celeste. Then, he turned to Bella. The 4-year-old's last words, according to Chris's later confession, were chilling, "Daddy, no." He ended her life too. He then stuffed their small bodies into separate oil tanks and buried Shanann in a shallow grave nearby. When Chris returned home, he tried to act normal. But Shanann's friend Nicole Atkinson, who had dropped her off the night before, was already worried. She showed up at the house when she couldn't reach Shanann. She called police, who quickly noticed Chris's strange behavior. He was calm, unemotional, giving short answers. The investigation moved quickly. Police searched the house. Cadaver dogs alerted to human scent inside. Chris gave inconsistent stories. He claimed Shanann had left with the kids. But surveillance footage from a neighbor's security camera told a different story. It showed Chris backing his truck into the garage and spending a suspiciously long time loading it before leaving that morning. Soon after, Chris agreed to take a polygraph test. Investigators told him plainly, "There's no way you're going to pass." And he didn't. When confronted, Chris first tried to blame Shanann. He claimed she had killed the girls, and in a fit of rage, he killed her in retaliation. It was a desperate, implausible lie. Eventually, he admitted the truth. He had killed them all. The confession shocked the nation. How could a man with no history of violence murder his entire family? The story dominated the news. Shanann's social media videos, once symbols of family happiness, now played on television screens as haunting reminders of what was lost. In November 2018, Chris Watts pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty. He was sentenced to 5 life terms without the possibility of parole. He will spend the rest of his life in prison. But the question remains, why? Experts describe men like Chris as family annihilators. These are men who kill their entire families, often not out of sudden rage, but out of a cold desire to escape. They see their families as obstacles to a new life. Divorce, honesty, change. These options aren't enough. Instead, they erase everything, leaving destruction behind. Chris Watts didn't just kill his wife. He killed his daughters, children who trusted him completely, who loved him without question. That betrayal makes his crime one of the most chilling in recent history. Today, the Watts home in Frederick, Colorado, stands as a grim reminder of what happened. Online communities still analyze every detail of the case. Shanann's videos remain, bittersweet records of a woman who believed in her family until the very end. Chris sits in prison, occasionally writing letters, sometimes giving interviews. But no explanation can undo what he did. The world will never understand why a man like him made such a monstrous choice. What remains are the victims: Shanann, Bella, Celeste, baby Nico. Their lives stolen by the one person who was supposed to protect them. This case forces us to confront a terrifying truth. Sometimes, the most ordinary people are capable of extraordinary evil. And that was the case of Chris Watts, the man who destroyed the family he pretended to love. Why do you think he really did it? Was it selfishness, fear, or something darker? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you found this story gripping, hit like and subscribe to Real Life Mysteries True Crime. New cases every week. Until next time, remember, the scariest monsters are often the ones we think we know.